Well, I was just having a conversation with Howie where I was talking about when we come on, I got some stuff to share, but hey, the internet's working better without Anna Lee and her 18 advices hooked up to it, Howie. So welcome to Off the Record with Randall. Tonight we got Howie Chaney back with me tonight, but we're not talking football, Howie. We're talking something a little different, something you and I both are passionate about. When I created Off the Record, I thought at times this show would be about this, and tonight is our first attempt. But and just told you that I have one single earphone, so when it comes out, I can't hear you. But last night was AEW Double or Nothing, the one or two largest AEW pay-per-views of the year. We watched it. We got some feel for it. I guess it was Sunday night, not last night.
Right, Sunday night.
But I guess we're here to do our first official wrestling review, and this is something we've been pointing to. You and I both have been to AEW events, and I would say we're fans of AEW, wouldn't you?
I've been to two of them. They've been traveling for less than a year and a half, 2 years, and I've been to two already. So I would say yes.
Well, of course, they haven't traveled any in the last year because of COVID.
Right.
Now, and that might be the story of this pay-per-view, was the 5,000 people that were there that seemed like 30,000 people. The place was just super on fire, super loud, and we'll start there. Of course, we had a prelim match, but even the prelim match, Serena Deeb versus Rio, the crowd was into it and loud from the get-go.
Yeah, it was a great opening match to kind of set the tone for the whole night. Usually, pay-per-views are about 3 hours long. This one here was 4.5, 5 hours. And as you said, the crowd was into it, and they was into it the whole night. Usually halfway through the show or, 3/4 of the way during the show, everybody kind of burns out. But last Sunday night, start to finish, it was wide open because it was the first time that they've had any amount of people in the crowd or, in the stadium there. And they were actually close to ringside and everything as well. So it was, honestly, I had chill bumps when it first started hearing actual fans, being there instead of this piped in noise.
Yeah, it was different. Now, I've done a little bit of the WWE set online and watch it, and it's really not the same. What AEW done a few months ago was make this about, they would bring the other wrestlers that wasn't involved to the stage area and have them there, so you felt a little more like it was a real live crowd. And it kind of felt like it was. I'm about to actually get this shared to the website we want to share it to, so then I go. But I thought it was good.
I love the way that they had the ring and the set and the entranceway set up last Sunday night, because of it allowed people to be around, basically all the way around all four sides of the ring. And the way they had the camera set up, it was a really, it was fun. It's like nothing that ever happened.
Well, one thing I did notice that usually behind there where the stage is at, they actually put fans back there, and that actually helped. That gave a little more of a pay-per-view sellout crowd. So you've already mentioned it real fast, but you and I both have talked about the matches. The Serena Deeb Rio match. Rio is someone who's been not very popular among the American fans. She was brought over to be the first AEW Women's Champion, and most people felt like it was kind of pushed really hard for her to get the title early on, and it felt almost, for lack of a better word, it almost felt like when Jinder Mahal had the WWE title. It was just like the company was going to do this even if the fans didn't want it. So Rio had left and went back to Japan. She's relocated to the U.S. permanently now to make a little more run in AEW. Serena Deeb is a veteran that's been around in the WWE, independents, AEW, the NWA. This is for the NWA Women's Championship. I thought it was a great match, especially for a not even on the card match. This was a buy-in match. Really worked well. I thought Rio was better than she'd been in the past too, Howie. What was your gut feeling about the match?
Yeah, it was a real good match. Riho did some, I ain't gonna say new moves, but some maneuvers and moves that she hadn't been able to do in the past. And it seems like she's gotten more confident in herself. You know, she's been wrestling for what, 15 years, 14 years.
Since she was 9.
Yeah, so she's improving a lot, and it seemed like she just was real comfortable Sunday night going against Serena.
Well, the one thing that they did that I liked is you really didn't know who, you hadn't seen Riho, you
Right.
really haven't seen Serena Deeb a lot except AEW. They came out early on and they established who the heel was, who the face was. And that kind of gave the crowd a rooting interest a little bit. They went to shake hands, she slaps her, and it was kind of on from there.
It was, and like you said, you know, they knew who the heel, who the face was, and it got the crowd going because it's the first, you know, action that probably most of the crowd has seen in a year and a half.
Yeah,
So, you know, it really, I mean, me and you could have got out there and they would have been cheering for us.
absolutely. It was, like I said, 5,100 and something people. Felt like 20,000. I gave the match a B-. I could have went up a little more from there. The one thing that was not their fault that kind of bothered me, and I don't know why, you know, AEW is outside. All their pay-per-views are outside. When they start in the sun,
Mhm.
and for some reason it distracts me because you feel like it should be a dark arena. But that match, it was still very bright, very middle of the day feel. And that's not their fault. They did their best. They worked really hard. So I actually jacked my grade up to a B-. What did you give it, Howie?
You know, talking about the sun and all that, of course, you know, it's outdoor area, surrounded by bleachers and everything else. So they wouldn't get no air like if they was in an inside arena. And with it being, you know, it wasn't the heat of the day, the hottest part of the day, but still in Jacksonville, it had to be in the 80s, if not more
Yeah.
there. So, you know, probably a little bit of humidity going on, you know, a couple of little slips here and there I think because of either their perspiration or whatever is going on. But, you know, overall, I thought it was a solid B match. You know, it could have been even a little bit higher than that if it was indoors, if they wouldn't have to deal with the sun and the heat and everything else.
I think we were both, we'll leave it at this and the last word on this match. We both thought it was Rio's best effort in AEW
Yes.
to this point, I think.
I want to say that she has changed some since we saw her last. Seems like she's put on maybe a little bit of weight, not in a bad way, but she doesn't look as small as she did in the past.
She weighed 85 pounds to start with, so a little weight would have helped her. I think she literally did legit weight in the low 100s.
And you know, and nothing, no disrespect or nothing like that, but it seems like she's, you know, she's still in her 20s if I ain't mistaken, but it seems like she's kind of filled into her frame a little bit better than what it was when she first started.
Right. And Serena Deeb's just a pro, man.
Yeah, she's been around forever, but she's still young, but she's been around forever, and you know, and she's a champion, so you know, the champions are always going to get their best.
Yes. All right, Howie, that match wraps up, and then we're headed to the opening card, and they come out hot. Your first match out of the gate was the Machine, Brian Cage, the FTW World Champion, versus Adam Hangman Page. Page had just lost to Cage on TV 2 weeks ago. This is a rematch of that match. They've had a great storyline. The storyline basically built up that said, you know, if you, you know, to Cage, if you can beat me, do it one-on-one. Leave Ricky Starks, leave Hook, leave Will Hobbs in the back, and let's settle this man-to-man. So that's the storyline leading into it. Brian Cage. Now, the one thing I didn't like, I hated Brian Cage's outfit. It looked like tinfoil or something, but it was a half man, half machine, makes his entrance. And then Adam Page erupts the place, Howie.
Yeah, that's where we differ from. I love Brian Cage's outfit that he came out in, half man, half machine. I love that. But like I said, Hangman was a huge, huge fan favorite um, before the pandemic, and you can tell after the pandemic, he still is because I'm not going to say he got the biggest pop, but he got probably the top three of the biggest pops of the night.
I'm not sure he didn't. And I think my problem with Page's outfit, it was very close to something Kenny Omega wore at Wrestle Kingdom, and I almost wondered if they'd recycled something. But I do think that was one of the biggest pops. If the only other pop that I can think of was there with it was, and we'll get to that at the very end in the Stadium Stampede, or maybe Orange Cassidy appearances in the heavyweight title match. But
Right.
it was a huge pop.
It was. It really was. Like I said, it's probably one of the top three. And I'm just talking about as far as entrances, Of course, we'll talk about later on, but Sting got a huge pop because first time in 6-7 years he's competed in a ring with fans and everything. So he got a huge pop as well. But anyway, I didn't jump ahead of you.
Well, I mean, we're kind of all over the place here a little bit. Well, now this match I thought told a great story. The most of the match was Brian Cage's size, dominated the match. Adam Page landing his stuff, getting it in. Adam Page. Sometimes Howie, I think he wastes the top turnbuckle moonsault to the floor, but this is the place you use it in a pay-per-view like this. It's absolutely amazing. The match went on, and I'm going to pull you a little bit ahead. With Cage dominating the match, the old "hey, something's coming here" bell goes on when he tries to use Page's buckshot lariat, and I thought that was the beginning of the end of the match. That was the signal.
And you're talking about Cage's, size and everything, been the story of the match pretty much. And if people that don't really know AEW or has never watched it, Adam Page is a pretty good sized fella himself. It's just
he is.
Cage is just twice the size he is. But that I didn't understand really why Cage started imitating Page a little bit. But at the end I do understand. But at the moment I didn't. So at least the story that they're telling, it did come out there at the very end.
So the match kind of gets turned around there a little bit. So Adam Page takes over control of the match. So for those that hadn't seen Brian Cage, he's 6 foot 272. I mean, he is just a mammoth of a man. And I actually thought he was taller than that. Trained originally by Chris Kanyon, old WCW guy, Tom Pritchard, Norman Smiley. So he's got all the basics. But it appears during the match that Hook, Taz's legitimate son, Ricky Stark show up at ringside. They've had this great match running about 20 minutes. Right. And they interfere with the match, slide Cage, the FTW World Heavyweight Champion, and that's when we got the turn. And I think that's a permanent turn for Cage. One of the criticisms I have of AEW, Howie, it seems like they're a tad heavy on the heel side. Not a lot of good faces, so they could use another good guy face in that locker room. Right. Cage refuses to hit Page with the belt, and then go through the finish with us there, Howie.
Yeah, they slide the belt in. He refuses. He looks at them. He tells them no, he's not going to do it. He wants to do it on his own because I think what Page said to him last week or week before last about, hey, you're big enough. You do it on your own. You don't need their help. He kind of took that to heart, to thinking, yes, I can do it on my own. I want to do it on my own. And so he tells them no. And unfortunately, in the long run, it hurts him. Kind of cost him the match, but he did what he needed to do.
Right. And we get the turn. Paige wins the match. Afterwards, Ricky Starks and Hook comes in. And basically, I think at that point we get the, hey, I don't want you around. I quit Team Taz. And they kind of leave separately. And do you think, just to get a little bit off of the beaten path, do you think Brian Cage is someone that could put seats in the stands? Do you think he could be that big Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior kind of guy?
He's got the look. By no means. I mean, he's got the look. That part I think he can do. You haven't heard him speak very much, so it depends on how good he is with the mic, whether or not he can do that. Looks alone these days will not put butts in the seats. They've got to be able to speak, and so if he can do the mic like anywhere half the way that he looks, yeah, he can be the man for AEW for years to come.
Right. Now I think next, and get me, I wrote down next was the Young Bucks, Moxley,
Right.
and Kingston. For some reason, I got out of order though in my notes and wrote down the Casino Battle Royal. But we'll go to the next one. I just want to close up Page and Cage. Here's the 3 notes I made: big boy match, great storytelling, back and forth, had a logical beginning and end. I gave it an A, and I'll tell you now, it's my number 1 match of the pay-per-view. How about you?
Yeah, same here. It was an A. I give it an A as well because it was a good match. A couple little slips here and there, but I go back to the perspiration and the sweat and the humidity and all that being outside could have caused that, because you didn't see it later on in the night or later on in the afternoon once the sun got down and it cooled off a little bit in there.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that was a little bit of it. But it was a great match. Great match.
Any other time that could have been a main event of the pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you feel like they've set up Omega and Page down the road. One thing AEW does is invest in long-term storytelling. Now, you kind of know where it goes next, which is Jungle Boy, which we'll get to in a minute. But definitely the main event in September, always Labor Day weekend, Page versus Omega would be a serious contender to headline All Out, All In, whatever they call it this year.
With a Cage, with Page winning, that should put him back at the number 1 spot, because he was the number 1 contender until Cage beat him, so he should be able to move back up.
Well, I think Jungle Boy by default gets the number 1, is what they said. So we'll find out when the show tomorrow night, or I guess it's Friday night. All right, so let's go on to the next match. Now I'm going to stop here for a minute, and I'm just going to ask you a frank and honest question. Had you heard of Eddie Kingston before AEW? Now, I'm a little bit of more of an indie fan than you are. Did you know of Eddie Kingston much?
No, I did not. No, not a clue until he showed up that night.
Okay, Eddie Kingston is, if you want to go back, Sweet and Sour Incorporated was kind of an indie underground thing, and it ended in tragedy as the manager took his own life later on. But Brody Lee was involved in some of that area. John Moxley was involved. Eddie Kingston. They were all big scenes in that. Cesaro was another one that was kind of in that New York indie scene. No one in the world has shot themselves in the leg more than Eddie Kingston. He had a job in TNA, got fired, had multiple tryouts with WWE, never could make one stick. Does his one match with Cody Rhodes on AEW for the TNT title, got a job offer from AEW, got a job offer from the WWE. This is a guy that just prior to that had sold his ring gear to pay for food and shelter for his family. So That being said, when Moxley and Kingston does the, lack of a word, better word, Shield entrance through the crowd, Kingston was a superstar in that moment. Moxley even threw a cheer into the crowd, so that was kind of a feel-good moment in that pay-per-view.
It was, and for the people that hadn't saw Kingston, he's not the biggest guy, he's not the most well-built guy, but man, when he gets in the ring, he can wrestle, and then once his hand gets on that microphone, he can talk. He can talk as good as probably anybody.
Yeah, I 100% go with it. Now this match, we're running long. Like we already talked about, this match seemed like it run long.
Right.
And it did. It went 22 minutes, and it really, or 32 minutes, I forgot, I wrote it down. And it really felt like it should have been a tight 20. Good storytelling. The Bucks did the Bucks. We saw Frankie Kazarian show up as the Elite Killer when the Good Brothers tried to get involved. So you got some background. You had the Jordans that stole from the Young Bucks. But it really was a back and forth match. And even Moxley, they got an indie driver on Moxley on the ramp, and boy, he gushed blood there for a little while, Howie.
He did. He really did. He did. You know, they got, like you said, they got the Meltzer driver on the ramp there. It was a good match, back and forth, back and forth. The Young Bucks took control there for a minute, and and they neutralized the ring with Eddie Kingston there. Took advantage of him having that bum leg that they heard a couple weeks ago.
Good storytelling.
Yeah, kind of re-injured it. It went back to the point right there, and then Kingston got the hot tag on Moxley. Crowd went wild. Moxley took advantage for a few minutes, and then it went back and forth again to the very end until the Young Bucks did the elite knees, or what is they call it?
The V-trigger killer knees.
Yeah, they did four on my
four of them on Moxley. Did it surprise you that Moxley put the Young Bucks over clean in the middle of the ring? 1, 2, 3.
No, not at all. I think Moxley is a team player. He does what needs to be done, and to me, this will not be the end of the feud, but he did what needed to be done.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was definitely one of my favorite matches. So it was a good match. Again, I just want to plug coming up tonight at night, 3R. It says 8, but it's at 9. And of course, Off the Record every week at 7 with Randall. I thought it was a good match. I was a little surprised they Moxley goes under right in the middle, 1, 2, 3, as Moxley is one of the bigger stars of AEW. There's not a whole lot that I have on this match other than it was a good match. Moxley puts him over clean. Eddie Kingston is a star. Will be around AEW. My notes, and it's not like me to take notes, but you can see I was taking notes. And what I wrote down was, I told you I had them out of order, so you have to bear with me.
Back to Moxley taking the pin there in the middle of the ring. I felt like he had to, because Young Bucks are trying to be the heels, and they're not actually heels yet, but they're trying to get there. I think with them taking, with Moxley doing it, that really helped them solidify that they are heels the way they want to be.
A couple of moments that I want to highlight. One was they intentionally did the Shield, or attempted to do the Shield power bomb on Moxley, where they give the that Roman Reigns was done. I thought that was a good moment. And I also thought, and this one was a much more subtle, but I thought they played homage to Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin, with Moxley with the blood streaming down his face in the sharpshooter in the middle of the ring. That iconic image of Stone Cold, and Bret Hart. So there was a couple of kind of iconic moments brought into that match. And I thought that those were well played. Even the Shield, I don't think it was an insult to the Shield. I think it was more paying homage to the Shield. So I gave the match a solid B. How about you?
Right. Yeah, a B is it, because it was a good match. There's some swerves in there where you thought that the Young Bucks would want to cheat win and everything, but it didn't come to fruition. So yeah, I give it a B.
All right, Howie. Next on to the we'll cut some time and get through the Casino Battle Royal.
Yeah, because if we do every person that went in there would be here all night long. So basically, let me tell you my aspect of it real quick. Christian Cage was the first one that came out, and he was next to the last one to leave. So hats off to him staying in the ring so long.
All right, so I've got the thumbnail cheat. Let's go through it real fast. Christian Cage first one in, eliminated by Jungle Boy. Matt Sydal second one in, eliminated by Max Caster. I thought Caster rap where he went at Christian and said he's lost his edge, went at the Hardy. I thought it was all good. Powerhouse Hobbs later eliminated by Christian Cage. I thought that was two people that I thought could win it early on. Dustin Rhodes, the bull rope had to play into it. He carried out, used against him by Powerhouse Hobbs. He's eliminated. Max Caster would go out to Christian Cage. Next five in, Isaiah Kennedy, the Hardys, Preston Vance, Nick Camarado, and Serpentino. Serpentino. Yeah, that one. Where Dr. Luther throws him into the ring. That's the best part of that one. Camarino, I think, is a star. Preston Vance has a moment with the Hardy and Kennedy to start with. Really makes him look like a superstar. Cassidy gets eliminated by Jungle Boy. Hardy gets eliminated by Christian Cage. God, that's a great wrestling moment. Hardy and Christian Cage. You think of all the matches. Preston Vance eliminates Dustin Rhodes after he gets the bull rope from Hobbs. Dustin Rhodes eliminates Nick Canabero. The masked member of the Chaos is eliminated by 10. Not a lot in that second group, but just felt like it was a storyteller. The next group up, and I really thought this group, we saw two people that are going to be stars. The first two out are Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison. They're doing everything they can to get Pillman Jr. over. They're just not giving it to him. He's the king of dark, but I really think they've discovered something with Griff Garrison and Pillman Jr. As a future tag team.
Yeah, that tag team, I'd say within the next year to 2 years, they'll be the tag team champions.
Yeah, I would think so too. Colt Cabana, Boom Boom just comes out. Anthony Bowens is out, and Penta L0 is out. Good little group there. I thought Pillman and Griff Garrison kind of showed out a little bit, but they're setting up. They're eating time up. I thought Penta would have a good moment with Jungle Boy a little later on, but it's definitely building now. The room. Is it fair to say that they're getting the ring emptied by the time the next group comes in? They're not letting it clog up to 20 or 10 guys. They're keeping about 5 guys. And then here comes the next. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You could see what was going on. Once you get 15 or 20 people in there, it's hard to tell who's doing what. But the way they were doing it, keeping it cleared out, as you say, you could see some of the action going on. You could see some of the moves going on. And you could actually tell who was still in and who was out.
Yeah. The next group, Jungle Boy, Mark Quinn, Aaron Solo, who I think he's caught a lot of flack. He's Bailey's in the WWE's boyfriend. He's a pretty good worker, though. I like Aaron Solo. Evil Uno, and another kid they're trying to push from the Nightmare Factory, Lee Johnson. That group, I thought Mark Quinn done some great work. I thought Evil Uno's elimination of Penta L0 was that's a big moment for Evil Uno to get that elimination. What stuck out in that group to you?
Oh man, I didn't take notes. So really, to be honest with you, nothing really stuck out at that point. I was just really surprised that Christian Cage was still in the match. Because most of the people that came out in that first
Right.
five was already out, and so he was able to stick around, to the end.
So Jungle Boy comes out in the last group. Christian Cage in the first group. They're going to play a huge part of this in just a minute. Number 21, Leo Rush from New Japan Wrestling, former WWE guy. As the paper said, or the rag sheets, he's not signed to AEW, but continued part of the talent exchange. I thought if you had nobody, it was a pretty good, he's well known among the indie guys, but it wasn't the shock of Bryan Danielson or somebody walking out like that. But it was more like, okay, I really not overly impressed, but it was somebody new.
It didn't have that wow factor really, but on the flip side, considering he didn't stay in the match, but maybe 2 or 3 minutes, it was just a filler. Maybe they couldn't get nobody else in there at the time. So,
Right.
He did do some good moves while he's in there.
The roster is jam-packed right now. This roster really needs that third hour to start. I mean, really before they add anybody. All right, so at Bing and Bang, everybody's in and out. It comes down to Christian Cage and Jungle Boy. How sure were you that Christian Cage was about to go over?
Not real sure, about 120%, really. From everything that I kind of read and the way I've been watching, I really thought that he was going to get the shot at Kenny Omega, and they kind of threw a little curveball in there, and I like it because Jungle Boy Jack Perry is a young and upcoming star he could be, he's going to be there for quite a while.
Yeah, Jungle Boy, 22 or 3 years old, and he can lose to Omega in a good match on Dynamite or Rampage, and it doesn't harm him. If you give Christian Cage Omega on free TV like that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Jungle Boy Jack Perry I love the way Jim Ross uses that. And Jim Ross, I thought, at times has been lost in AEW. I thought he had a real good night last night.
He did.
I thought he was really good on Sunday night.
And that's why I said Jungle Boy Jack Perry, because that's the way he does it as well. I mean, he's in the same boat with that situation there.
And he's not made a light over that he's Luke Perry's son. He's done it quietly.
Right.
But do you know how much, if AEW wanted to make it about we have Luke Perry's son on roster, it wouldn't be fair to Jack Perry. They do it just enough to recognize his dad, but it's really not what he's about. Jack Perry's proved he's a great professional wrestler. Jack Perry, all 175 pounds of him, wins the Casino Battle Royal, becomes the number one contender, and in a couple of weeks on Dynamite gets a shot at Kenny Omega. I thought they finished it great. The moment that saved it for me was they had Christian Cage come back in the ring and basically tell Jack Perry, make the most of your title shot. A feel-good moment between two feel-good wrestlers. Also, they kind of went at it, but it was not heel babyface. It was babyface going at it with Jack Perry and Christian. And I got to admit, I miss the days when you could have a good babyface match like that. So what did you think of the finish, Howie?
I loved it when I thought it was over with when Christian was going to push Jungle Boy Jack Perry into the corner, but he just wraps himself around it, kind of does a boomerang around it, gets back into the ring there, and then he I can't remember the exact move that he done, but he flips Christian Cage out of the ring like a back body drop or something like that. I think it's what it actually was. The back body drop, and Christian ends up getting eliminated, and he wins. That finishing sequence right there was really, really, really good.
All right, Richard Jasper checking on quarterback one. Welcome, Richard. Hey, this is our first wrestling show. This is off the record with Randall. Richard Jasper has a show on this network too. A great card collecting show, Howie, if you ever get a chance to watch it. All right, so we're halfway through the event. Okay, let's get a score. Let's get a grade on the Casino Battle Royal. Here was my notes, and I called it the bull rope was so obvious, had to come out. Varsity Blondes, Future Stars, Leo Rush kind of served his purpose. The Edge and Hardy, the Christian and Matt Hardy moments was good. Jungle Boy wins, plus, brings it up to an A- for me.
Yeah, Jungle Boy winning was an A. Overall, the whole thing was, I'd give it like a B minus. There's a few spots there that I thought could have went a certain way, could have been a little bit better, but overall, I'd say A.
All right. Well, quickly, we're running out of. Boy, Howie, we didn't schedule our time too well tonight, but that's my fault. We got a lot to get through. I just want to remind everybody, hey, Richard, we'll cover some old wrestling too on here. We're kind of old ourselves. We love old wrestling. And you've been from Michigan. You're probably a Sheik guy. Howie, at halfway point of the pay-per-view, I kind of felt like we had a good pay-per-view going, but they needed to finish it up. And then come what I thought was the worst match of the night. And let's just be honest. If I ask you right now, and you and I are friends, been friends forever, who is my favorite wrestler? You would say who?
Yeah, it's Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes, without a doubt. I'm a Rhodes family member. I was a Dusty Rhodes fan. I was a Cody Rhodes fan. I worked for Dusty Rhodes in the WCW. I've known Dusty. I've known Cody.
When we saw Cody get the belt straps from MJF and Hustle, I saw you shedding tears.
Yeah,
you didn't like it either.
I was upset, man. I was ready to take myself into the ring. I don't know if I cried, but that was honestly, that was rough to watch in person too.
It was.
I thought the next match laid a complete egg, man. You have Anthony Ogogo, an Olympic bronze medal boxer, a former top 5 boxer who tragically had to give up his boxing career, and he's now training to be a wrestler, versus Cody Rhodes carrying the title, The American Dream, for the first time ever. And it was bad.
It was.
They tried to tell the story of Anthony Gogo being the Olympic boxer, Cody Rhodes being the wrestler. But Howie, my problem is I'm beginning to feel like every Cody Rhodes match feels the same. How about you?
It is. Yeah, it is. It's starting to be. They don't really build his matches up. It's just like they throw them together. There's no story beforehand. What was it? 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, him and Go got into it, and all of a sudden now they're at a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And it seems like Cody Rhodes is trying to put over these new guys, but the new guys haven't done anything else to help that situation.
Well, also, I think, Cody Rhodes made up his mind early on not to compete for the AEW championship. And it just doesn't feel like he's there other than to fill the semi-main event card. I don't know. It's like he's lost his direction.
He's just there to put butts in seats, basically. All he's there for.
Yeah, the match was good work. It was about as predictable comes. Cody Rhodes beats Anthony Gogo. The best part of the match was he did use a vertebreaker, something you don't see every day. It's a little different finish than 7 the Crossroads. Goes home. I think you put a major ding in Anthony Gogo's future, and I don't think you did anything to press Cody Rhodes down the road. And
nobody came out of this, plus out of their name. They came in at a certain point and they left at a certain point. It didn't help either one of them.
Well, every other match up to this point, I feel like did something for somebody. This one, I didn't really do nothing. Cody Rhodes over Anthony Ogogo. We'll leave it there. What do you think? Last comment on Cody, my favorite wrestler. What do they need to do to get Cody back on track to being Cody?
My honest opinion and what I feel like is they're going to have plenty of time to come up with something, because with Brandy fixing to have that baby, as well as I do, Cody's going to want to be with Brandy and that baby for as long as he can. So I got a feeling that he's fixing to take a hiatus for a while.
Would you say maybe a heel turn is in line?
Possibly when he comes back.
Yep. All right.
What may be happening is somebody does something to him to kind of put him on the shelf for a while, him not like it, and then come back as a bad guy.
All right. So I gave the match a C-. I struggled to get it there. It was good work. Cody Rhodes' interest is always gold. Anthony Ogogo, I feel like a future star. I gave it a C-. What did you give it?
I have to go to incomplete, really. It was just missing something. It just wasn't a match of Cody Rhodes' caliber.
All right, next match. We again tonight at 9, 3R Sports with Raj Mehta, Robbie Davis. Be on at 9 o'clock tonight. Howie, we're talking about. We're going to do something fun tonight. We're going to do an all NBA team. We're going to split up and draft. Like everybody gets 5 picks. If you get pick 2 and Michael Jordan goes first, then you take LeBron James. You got 3, you take Kareem. We're going to put 5 players together and find out who has the best team.
So it's all time NBA then.
Yes, and also tonight we're going to cover DraftKings released gambling odds for the college football season, and we'll be discussing that. Now, as disappointed as the Cody match was that we could have laid it out, I think the next match was just as easily to predict, but it was a great match as Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, wins the AEW World's Ladies Championship over Sheeta, and it was a great match. I really enjoyed this match. This might have been my 3rd favorite match on the card. So started really hot. Sheeta, always a good worker. Sheeta is a good wrestler. Had the title for over a year, but this was Dr. Britt Baker's time to be crowned champion. And even Rebel getting involved was funny. And you're right, she did look out like Elvira. What was your impression of this match?
It was a good match. Probably my second favorite of the night. First being the Hangman Page match, but this was a good match. Both ladies got their stuff in. They went at it hard. They left everything out in the ring, and it's Britt Baker's time because she has worked so hard. The last time she got to this point was, if I'm mistaken, when she broke her nose, and she had to miss some time, and so she basically had to start over from scratch. And once that happened, nothing has stopped her since, and she's steamrolled everybody and has done a great job, and is probably one of the best women heels out there other than Charlotte Flair.
It was great. I thought it was good. We'll not spend a lot of time there. We got to catch up a little bit. We'll cut some time out of the next match too. But I really loved the false finishes at the end, the crutch, the roll up, going home. And finally, I thought it was ironic that she should end with the lockjaw. And I thought that was a great finish to this match.
It was. It was a great finish. I really thought that Sheeta was going to win once Reba Rebel hit her with a crutch, but she came back from that, and the false finishes, like you said, really made the match a lot better made it a lot better. So, I thought, overall, we're giving grades. I think this was a B+ match myself.
All right. And I hate to jump off of that match, but let's grade it. I gave it a B+.
Right. That's why I gave it to a B+. Yeah, a B+.
All right. Quickly, we'll talk about, and then we got 4 more matches to get through. Miro versus the Murray Hawk, Lance Archer. for the TNT title was just a slug. Two big guys beating each other up for 10 minutes. Nothing fancy, nothing laid out. Jake gets involved. I mean, that's what you want to see when you have two big monsters like that, right?
Yeah, you don't expect you don't expect them to get out there and do hurricanranas and jumping off the top rope and all this other stuff. They just went out there and beat the dog out of each other, and pardon the pun, but the best man won.
That's funny. I thought Jake added something, and sometimes I question whether he does, but he kind of added something to this mix. And I think him and Lance Archer are good together,
Right.
But I really think they got to get Miro over at this point. And we said it the other night. He is over, but there's still something missing from Miro to Rusev. And I don't know what it is, but it's like they're searching for something more. And I don't know if it's Lana, the Rusev Day chant, but it was a good match. Overall, I thought the only thing, Lance Archer did get his little guy flippy stuff in when he did. I gave the match a B-. Did you have anything radically different than that?
No, just a B. I'd give it a solid B. That was it. Like I said, two big guys out there just hammering on each other, and it ended the way it should have ended.
All right, and it was a long pay-per-view. If you can't tell, folks, we're even running long trying to get it out. 46 minutes in, and we go to Darby Allin, Sting versus, and I really think Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky deserves a name of some kind, but this was a match kind of threw together. Not a lot of backstory to it, but Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky and Darby Allin and even Sting at 61 years old can still go. A great match, a little bit of every kind of style. And again, I think Ethan Page may be a future world champion. I really like not a lot of storytelling to build upon, but Sting in the ring at 61. I really liked the move where they kind of come over the top rope. Sting catches him in a death drop. A lot of good highlight moments. I gave it a B-, and I'm probably low. I was wanting to go up to a B.
I give it a B. Sting, first time in the ring in 7 years, competitive action, took a suplex out on the entrance way and just popped right back up from that, basically telling everybody he's back, he can take bumps. A good all around match. It had a little bit of everything in there. So, I'd give it a solid B, and I may be a little bit too low on that myself, but I enjoyed the match. It was good.
Did this match get lost in the excitement of everything going on? Because that's kind of how I felt. That even though it was Sting and it was Darby Allin, it was kind of like, this is when I chose to get up and go reheat my pizza. It just because it'd been so.
Here's what happened. It actually came after the women's title match because you got out of sequence there for a second. It was right after the women's title match, and that was such a good match that it kind of got lost in between that one, and of course the next one was going to be the Kenny Omega match. So it was kind of like a take a breath type, relax type deal. It should have been somewhere else besides in between those two.
Right, and I think that's the reason they put Hangman Page and Brian Cage at the opening match, so that match could stand on its own. They have this card so full. And Double or Nothing, if you don't know, for the fans out there in AEW land, this is, I guess, WrestleMania and SummerSlam were the two big WWE pay-per-views. This is their SummerSlam, for lack of a better word. So a lot going on. One last thing with this match, though. I think we saw Sting will work some again. So I think we'll see Sting more than we think. Also, I don't want, before we go on to the two final matches, and it was back a little bit, but Mark Henry is All Elite was announced as the new color commentary of Rampage. I like Mark Henry. Does the AEW have the two biggest color commentaries in the world with Big Show and Mark Henry? What do you think of Mark Henry joining on? I think Mark Henry will wrestle again, by the way. He's already said he wants one more match.
I don't know if he'll wrestle or not, but just that veteran presence back there in the locker room would be huge for all these younger guys, like a Darby Allin, like a Eddie Kingston, like a Hangman Adam Page, a Jungle Boy. They're all young guys, so they can use that veteran leadership back there in the locker room. And Mark Henry's been around for quite a while.
Right. You're right. Absolutely. All right. I'm going to call it a co-main event. The 6-star bout machine, Kenny Omega versus Pac versus Orange Cassidy. I got it out. I was so scared I was going to call him by a little nickname we have between us. Good match. I really almost bought in that Orange Cassidy was going over at the end.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me at some point for them to pull a completely out of the blue. Orange Cassidy wins the world title. This is probably not the time and the place. I really liked Pac and Orange Cassidy working together. But Kenny Omega, on a reversal of a crucifix, wins the match. For a 3-way match, it was good, not great. I mean, all three of these guys have had better matches, but one thing about 3-ways, they can get sloppy at times, Howie, for lack of a better word.
He can, and Orange Cassidy, when he puts his hands in his pockets, he's one of the best athletes that AEW's got. Think about it. It's hard for me just to walk across the floor without my hands in my pockets. And he's doing nip-ups, he's doing jumping off the top rope with his hands in his pockets and everything else. So, that's talent right there, being able to do all that stuff. But, overall, I thought, go ahead.
Reverse the German by putting his hands in his pockets. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, you just don't see that every day. That to me, that's probably one reason why he's one of my favorite wrestlers, is because he can do that stuff. I like to see some of these other guys kind of attempt it to see how they would do. But Omega's he's a huge name. He's got the belt right now. He's the champion. I think he's going to hold on to the championship for a little bit longer until this pandemic is kind of not really officially over, but till they get on the road week in and week out, because you need somebody like that to hold the belt until they get back on the road, and then give it somebody like a Orange Cassidy, like a Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Let the crowd reaction just go nuts when they come out with it.
I don't know if you've read, but in the last couple of weeks, Don Callis is officially out of TNA as the president of TNA, and now he's an on-screen talent for AEW on a full-time basis. Do you like Don Callis just in that on-screen basis with Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers? He's irritating and I hate him, and I can't decide if that means that he's great or I hate him for other reasons. I hate Bobby the Brain Heenan too, but that was because Bobby the Brain was so great.
Honestly, I don't think he brings anything to the table as far as I'm concerned. He's a pretty good talker, but Omega's a good talker himself, so it ain't like that he's got to have him out there being his voice. So, Don Callis walking in and out of the ring with him, I would never miss him if he wasn't there. So
there was also a moment in the match would be neglect to not bring it up, where, of course, SoCal was just forced. Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian forced to break up. Kazarian dubs himself the Elite Hunter. The Good Brothers come out, and he stops them. Kazarian's feels like someone they're going to put some glamour on right now, does he not to you?
He does. That's probably why they did the breakup. He's got a lot of potential that can really help his organization out.
Yeah. And Christopher Daniels in his late 40s, a trainer in AEW. My note was low blow helped to get us to the finish. Of course, the roll up we've already talked about. Dragon suplex. We haven't even mentioned Pac is just a lot of people. If you've not seen AEW, it's Neville from the WWE. Just I would hate to fight Pac. Don't he just feel like a guy? And I hate to use this comparison because his name is such a stigma, but it's kind of like Chris Benoit back in the day. You just feel like he worked so real in the ring that he could beat you up outside the ring. So Pac is just a legit bad man.
Right. Yeah, and he did some great stuff last night as well. Don't mean to overlook him, but we're kind of short on time just trying to kind of get through this. But, Orange Cassidy, like I said, putting his hands in his pocket, doing that stuff this to me is awesome. Omega's a champion. Yeah, and then, you got Pac that came out there and he put on a heck of a show for everybody last night and did a great job. It just came up a little short.
I just added 5 minutes to our broadcast, so let's not cut the next short. If we need to run over 5 minutes, I just set it up to do so. The Howie Chaney, along with Randall Cunningham, here on AEW Double or Nothing review. Howie, I think we do this again, man. This seems like a lot of fun to me.
Yeah, it is, and
something we love.
Yeah, it is, and don't forget about Stampede. We got one more match to talk about.
Yeah, that's the reason I put the 5 minutes on there.
Okay.
I gave the world title match a B. It could have been better, but again, it gets caught. The emotion of Britt Baker, DMD, winning the women's championship, it was a lot, And
if it hadn't been for this match or the Stampede, it could have actually been the main event of this pay-per-view.
Yes, you're right.
But this match right here, I give it a B plus, mainly because of Orange Cassidy. I mean, I love watching him, especially when he puts his hands in his pockets. He can just fly. He can fly all over the place.
Yep, I loved it. But on to, folks, stay with us. To me, of the blood and guts, the 2 stadium stampedes, all the gimmick matches that's been done in AEW, the next stadium stampede between the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle, to me, was the best gimmick match we've ever had in the AEW. We've got multiple kind of celebrity nods. We've got funny moments, but not too funny, ha-ha. I think they got too funny with it last time. The biggest funny moment I thought in this one was Guevara obviously ran over last time by Matt Hardy in a golf cart. He kind of repays Sean Spears and does the same to him. But for the most part, a very serious match. I thought the entrance, MJF drives in and OMO gets out by himself, starts demanding for the Inner Circle and Jericho. In the back of the stadium, coming down the Jumbotron, is the members of the Inner Circle. And we haven't seen anything like that in a long time. Unfortunately, probably the death of Owen Hart probably prevents some stunts like that in wrestling today. But I thought it was absolutely a great intro. And it was pre-taped. I'm not of the ilk that all this happened as the stadium went on. But it was pre-taped, but it was a great intro, Howie.
It was. At first, I thought they was going to zip line in, really. I thought they was going to zip line down like the 50-yard line. But then all of a sudden, I see they was kind of rappelling down the scoreboard there, and that made it awesome to see that. Either way was awesome.
The Inner Circle comes down. They go towards the limo. MJF is locked up inside of it. And to the side comes the FTR truck, for lack of a better word, the one they showed up. And I'm going to tell you where I got one of the biggest cackles of the night, though. Tully Blanchard looking like 1985 Bunkhouse Stampede, getting out of the back of the truck like he's going to do some fighting. And I don't know why that was so funny to me, but I laughed, Howie. FTR gets out, jumps the inner circle. MJF comes out, and it's on, buddy. And they really was 4 separate matches. FTR, along with Santana Ortiz, goes their direction. Sean Spears, Sammy Guevara goes in their direction. MJF and Jericho goes in their direction. And then Hagar and Wardlow go in their direction. What's your highlights? Maybe let's start with Wardlow and Hagar. What was your favorite part of that?
Favorite part of that is, I guess, when they went through the wall in one of the rooms there. I liked that. Really wasn't expecting it, but they went through the wall, and and like you said, the power bomb off the golf cart or whatever type of vehicle it was. That was pretty cool as well.
It's 2 big guys, and they have chemistry together. Every time you've seen Wardlow and Hagar lock up, it's been a world-class match. I did like the bump. As you said, the one bump earlier looked kind of fake. The bump off the top of the golf cart looked really good. And, they've never gave Hagar his victory over Wardlow back. So Wardlow's still one up on him. So you can go some mileage with that. And I think, overall, Hagar Wardlow was probably a 50-50 battle until he goes off the top of the golf cart.
It was 50-50 all the way.
All right. Next was another part was my favorite part, when that would be FTR, Wheeler and Hardwood, along with Santana and Ortiz. They meet in the bar inside the stadium. There's a DJ in the background. They pour each other some drinks. I thought that was a really cool moment. Like, we're getting ready to fight old school. And then they both look towards the DJ, and it's Conan, who managed Santana and Ortiz in TNA for a long time. Great moment, and Conan's such a legend.
Yeah, he was. It really surprised me because I'd heard he's in pretty bad health and couldn't get out and do nothing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, here he is. He's down in Jacksonville at a pay-per-view, and it really surprised me. That was kind of one of the last people I'd expect to see there.
Conan struggled with his health, and it's good to see him, man.
Conan
is, for the people that don't know, Conan is Hulk Hogan of Mexico. He is the biggest star in Mexican wrestling history, probably. Good action in there. Just a daggum realistic street fight to me.
It's a legit bar brawl because it was in a bar.
4 bad guys,
Yes.
I really think Santana and Ortiz, when they signed from TNA, they were never going to be the instant impact that FTR was, but they have really found their niche with Jericho in the inner circle, don't you think?
Yeah, they have. That helped them. That's out of everybody, it's probably helped them more than anyone.
All right. Now, obviously, we're going to go out of order here because the biggest stars in this match are, of course, the demo god, Chris Jericho, the GOAT of AEW, and MJF, and they go to the inner workings of the football stadium, and they start battling all over it, and eventually ends up in the coach's office. We're not 1, but 2 former SEC coaches are in there. Charlie Strong, head coach at Louisville in Texas, former defensive coordinator at Florida, and Urban Meyer, head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, are in there. And that's where Jericho and MJF ends up. And that was a really good segment, Howie.
It was, and the thing about it to me was it's going to get out there. It's going to make it on ESPN. It's going to make it on these sports channels with Urban Meyer and Charlie Strong being there. And, Urban Meyer telling, I think it was Jericho, go ahead and use the laptop to use it if you needed to. And he just hits MJF on top of the head with a laptop.
That laptop. First, you had Charlie Strong chunking him footballs, hitting him MJF with it. And then he asked, Urban Meyer says, go ahead. Gives him his laptop. And I mean, full throttle, busted in the back of the head with the laptop. One thing not to miss here, though, and I know it was one of those pre-recorded segments, Chris Jericho did all that with a dislocated elbow, man. And
yes,
and they did not take it easy on the elbow. MJF took every shot he could, I'm sure, with protection on Jericho's elbow. I thought it helped the storyline, to be honest.
Yeah, it did. And MJF don't take it easy on nobody. It don't seem like he's one of the he's probably one of the tighter workers that AEW has.
Right.
And like you said, Jericho did all this with a dislocated elbow, and I don't know if you noticed there toward the end of the match or not, they took the brace off, or MJF took the brace off and put it down into the crowd, so somebody got a souvenir, walking away with a MJF souvenir.
Yeah, you're right. Now, one other thing, they also brought a cutout of Shad Khan, Tony Khan's dad, into it, and MJF hits it, and Jericho tells him he's in all kinds of trouble now. So another cute moment. But the highlight of the show was, and I know I'm about to explain, everybody can get emotional about this and say, yeah, Shawn Spears and Sammy Guevara are world-class wrestlers, Howie. And they put on a show, including a little gimmick with Sammy running over him with the golf cart. But once they come back into the stadium, the 5 minutes they're inside the stadium, which the crowd erupts when they come back in, was probably 5 minutes of the best wrestling I saw all night.
Yeah, it was. And one reason I think the crowd erupted is because they probably didn't think they was going to get to see any more live wrestling that night, because they thought it's going to take place in the stadium, and they were done. They're just going to be watching it on the Titantron or Jumbotron that they had there where the wrestling took place at, And someone posted a picture on Twitter today where a lot of the people in the upper deck left because they thought they were done. They didn't think that they would actually get to see anything else. So, but yeah, like you said, those two can work. They can work hard. It ain't just my opinion, your opinion. It's pretty much everybody's opinion. And it ended up being a good 5 minutes back in the ring.
Sammy Guevara lands a 640 to take the victory for the Inner Circle. A move, and let's admit, Shawn Spears had some rebuilding to do after the WWF. Sammy Guevara's been in trouble for his mouth 2 different times that he's been in AEW. But you feel like AEW wants Sammy Guevara to be a future star. And the best part of it, man, at the end of a great pay-per-view, you end up with Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Santana Ortiz, Jake Hager in the middle of the ring in Daly's place in front of 5,000 people singing Judas and going nuts. And that's what we've missed without live wrestling.
It is. And, with Sammy Guevara getting a win for the Inner Circle, we've kind of hit on this a little bit earlier about how much more does Jericho have in the tank. That could be the first step of Guevara taking over the Inner Circle when Jericho decides to step down.
Jericho's got a great future behind the booth. He's the best.
Oh,
he's the best announcer they have. I'll say it again: the best announcer they have.
He can be another Jerry Lawler, type of person that's been in the ring, that has done it, and that tells it like it is, basically.
The 8 hours that Tony Schiavone did during the start of the pandemic was the best 8 hours of AEW maybe all year. Would you like to give a Stadium Stampede a grade? I gave it an A-. What about you?
After the last Stadium Stampede, it went from F to up to this one here was A. Yeah, I mean it was a total 180 degree reverse there because it was a lot better than the last. And yeah, you had your little cheek type action that went on, a little bit of ha going on, but it was just a very little, just enough to get a little bit of a chuckle. Then they went back into the action.
Absolutely. Overall, where do you rate this pay-per-view? Is this a must-see, top 10 lifetime, great pay-per-view?
It was a great pay-per-view. It was one of the better ones I've seen in the last 2 or 3 years. Not just AEW, but WWE as well. Out of all the wrestling pay-per-views I've saw, this is one of the best ones I've saw in the last 3 to 4 years easily.
Yeah, I would rate it the original All In that kind of kicked AEW off, and then I'll have this one as my number 2. Despite the huge pop of Moxley showing up at the first Double or Nothing when he come through the crowd, I thought this was the second best one. So just a little business here. Howie and I did this for the first time. If you like it, give us some feedback. This is something we would like to continue doing either here on Off the Record with Randall or even in a second show, which when we started River City podcasting, this was supposed to be one of the roots of it was pro wrestling. But Howie, sometimes it's hard to get to this sidebar here that there's so much sports going on, but I really enjoyed this hour. And I think a lot of people, if you'll give this a listen, will enjoy this hour.
Just be honest with them. Tell them the truth. I can't stay up late enough to be able to watch AEW all the way through. I have to go to bed too early, so that's why we don't do it on Wednesday nights after the show.
We were going to do a live reaction, and we decided we were both too old to stay up that late. So I loved it. It's something we plan on doing again. We won't do it for every pay-per-view like WrestleManias, the big stuff. It definitely will be part of our future. Let us know. You're great. Y'all have been great to me. Some 40,000 of you have come by in the last 40 days or 28 days. Let us know what you want to hear. Howie, we plan on going to some live wrestling, AEW, over the next little bit. Maybe we can do a show from outside of an AEW event or something. We'll come up with something for sure.
The official dog of the RC Off the Record with Randall. He's not the mascot, but he's pretty close to it.
He'll work.
But yeah, we're going to go back. Like I said, me and you went to the wrestling AEW in Huntsville when they came back. A year and a half ago. I went to the one in Huntsville, saw Cody jump off the cage. We're going to go back to more. We may do some, like you said, may do some live feeds from one, maybe before it starts or something like that. But this won't be it is the first time, but it won't be the last time that you see us on here talking about wrestling.
Well, about 45 minutes from now, you're going to hear me talk about the All NBA team, the conference winners, a lot of stuff on 3R Sports. So Tuesday nights, you get sick of seeing Randall. So I'll be back in about 45 minutes. Howie, you got any closing words?
Don't forget about next Tuesday night. We'll be on here talking to a pretty decent high school football coach in the state of Alabama. With if everything goes well, we'll be talking with Coach Paul Benefield.
Yeah,
go ahead and get the word out.
May have another special guest join us.
Right,
that's going to be a special night.
Yeah, I know that's something that you've been looking forward to. You've been wanting to do for quite a while, and we finally made it happen, or you made it happen. You finally got in contact with him and talked to him, and it would have been tonight, but he, I guess after he's won 3 state championships in a row, he decided to take a little vacation, so he's on vacation this week. But he has told us that next Tuesday night he'll be here with us, so hopefully he will. Yeah,
well, looking forward to talking to Coach. It's kind of strange, Howie, and I'll say this and wrap up. I started with Coach. You were still in high school at Sylvania High School. Some of my first games I called was with Coach at Sylvania, some painful losses in the playoffs. Yes. And I left the area for many, many years and kind of come back into contact with Coach and yourself and Phil Harris from WQSB. Coach, when I left, was I don't want to say this to him because it would embarrass him. He is the one guy that I became a fan of. And Howie, when I say I was a fan of him, every Saturday morning I got up, and even when I was broadcasting at other schools, the first thing I looked online was to see what Fife had done. So Coach I'm a huge fan of Coach Benefield, and I look forward to talking to him. And the one thing that I can say about Coach Benefield, we went through, and I think he would admit it too, one of the most painful losses that I've experienced as an announcer. And after the game, I went down on the field, and I thought I was going to get waved back to the broadcast booth, which most coaches would. Coach Benefield took all the time, all the effort, talked to me forever. You know, that shows you something special about this Coach Benefield. And, I mean, it wasn't a light game. I think this was a state semifinal.
If it's one I'm thinking about, is against Colbert County.
Yeah.
Colbert County, and it was a quarterfinal game, yes.
But that is a game that hurt me for a long time, and I'm sure it did, Coach. Maybe we'll get to talk about it. And so next Tuesday.
More than likely will, because he's talked to me about it, several times. If he always says, well, if I'd done this or if I'd done that different, it's just, he'll be probably one of the first ones to admit, hey, I remember the losses more than I do the wins.
So you think of that game, Coach Benefield going on to be pretty good. Phil Harris has gone on to be the voice of WQSB. And I've went on to become ugly, fat, and a big beard on a podcast.
And I'm right beside you.
Yeah. So 2 of them's done pretty good. Join me in about 45 minutes with Raj Mehta and Robbie Davis for 3R Sports. And Howie, thank you, man. And we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. I enjoyed it.
All right. Appreciate it, everybody. See you down the road.